everyone, and welcome to Late Night Fight, a debate show in which we take current political topics and discuss why they're important and whether or not they should really be debated. Video games. Kids love them, parents hate them. Back in my day, we actually played outside, we read a book. Yeah, very funny. Anyhow, tonight's topic, video games. Such games like God of War, Monster Hunter, Far Cry, the series, Red Dead Redemption, Sea of Thieves, the list, it goes on. Hey, wait a sec, I never heard of any of these. Maybe if they were a book, I'd be more into them. Am I right? I would say, these games have one thing in common. They're violent, whether you're hunting a monster or fighting on a pirate ship or the western themed shootout. All these games have the violent themes in them. Violence? When I was a Eric will be here all night if you butt into my sentence every 5 minutes. Oh, am I right, fellas? Violent video games and probably don't let their children play them, but then there are those people who want to outright ban violent video games. Well, obviously, video games are nothing but bad news. Without further ado, tonight's late night fights topic: should the federal government ban violent video games? The federal government shouldn't ban violent games. They shouldn't even be thinking about banning any type of video games. And just to get personal opinions aside, I think the whole argument is ridiculous. I think the federal government does need to ban violent video games and video games in general. They're an addiction, like cigarettes or alcohol. Kids start playing a video game, and that's all they do. They spend so much time on the screen or whatever that they don't do anything else. They spend less time doing other things, like they're exercising or their chores or spending time with their IRL friends and family. The statement can't be denied, but the problem is easily solved. All you do is set a curfew for your children to play. Half an hour or an hour of playtime with a video game, bam, curfew set up, addiction problem solved. Well, addiction problem, we'll get to that later. Besides, video games can be helpful to some kids. I mean, there's every kid out there who has trouble making friends, and with access to social media, multiplayer games, these kids can make tons of friends from all over the world. Online friends aren't real friends. You can't see them, you can't touch them, you can't go outside and play in the park with them, you can't go with a sleepover to their house, you can't do anything with them but be online with them. For a person to be a real friend, they got to be like within walking distance or driving distance. Right, now, to a video game that they're depressed when they aren't playing it, then that's a whole different problem from whether or not the game is violent. That's the problem of your child becomes easily addicted to things. Video games as a whole, as a culture, cannot be reduced to violence, hatred, and toxicity because they are so much more than that. Online gaming has become a collaboration, a coming together of people from all over the world working together towards the same goal. Online gamers have become part of a community of people who work together and play together with their own unique personalities that can't be ignored and put aside. I have to admit, that's a sound argument you've got there. I don't got anything else here. I don't got no other data here. What is this? Looks like somebody wasn't ready for late night fight. I ain't saying you have me beat. I can think stuff off my head if I have to. Off the top of my head, I got sources. I got information. I can look it up myself if I need to. Look, your argument here is that violent video games make violent people. A poll was sent out before we aired this episode, and 53% of people disagree with that statement, with 62% of men and 44% of women. And it's like saying that, oh, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. this. I'm not ready for fight night either, apparently. Our research shows that the number of violent crimes around the world decreased from 3.75 million to 2 million from 1996 to 2000. And at the same time, the sales for video games rose from nearly $5 billion to $6 billion. And pray tell, how are those even related over here? Am I right, fellas? Okay, so um, maybe it's not a direct correlation, but it's almost as if letting people with violent tendencies have a media to release their anger reduces the chances of them committing a crime. I still don't see the need for violent video games to be released to the people. I mean, kids could get their hands on them. Well, you have a point there. Adults should be responsible and keep an eye on their children, but there's a whole system for rating games by their violentness or not. The ESRB. The ESRB. Who's heard of that? I don't know what that is. It's the Entertainment Software Rating Board. They were founded in September 16, 1994, and it's your job to rate all sorts of video games, whether they're on your phone or your laptop or your Xbox or your Wii or whatever you have. It's their job. It's like they rate the video games to make sure the adults know what the child's going to be playing. Okay, so how do they do it? Do enlighten us. The rating the ratings are based off of what's in the game. Like if there's blood and gore or alcohol, or there's violence in them, like cartoon mischief or adult violence or other sorts of things. All right. I see what you're getting to here. I see. While we can't deny that some video games are inherently violent and they have violence in them, they can be fun too. Like this example I'm about to show here. Now, for the viewers out there, you may think it's silly, or you may think it isn't silly that there are arguments about violent video games, but this discussion has gone all the way to the Supreme Court. I know, it's crazy. I mean, look, here's the case. Brown versus the Entertainment Merchants Association. So, just to boil it down, we're going to get to the basics here. Many states wanted to limit the sale of violent video games because the politicians and all that, they were concerned that the violent video games lead to violent people who commit violent crimes. And the entertainment merchant, the association that sold video games, the Entertainment Merchants Association, they didn't like that because that would reduce their sales and everything and so forth. And and they took it to court. They went to court with the states to argue over the ban. And many court cases later, Supreme Court, they ruled that the restricting the video games would violate people's personal freedoms and that they're not allowed to do that. So the point is, each person is free to act, to think, to believe, and to choose without interference from the government. People have the right to consume media found in video games, be it violent or non-violent. The government doesn't have a right to pick and choose what is produced and what is consumed by the people. I'm Joseph McNamara, or Joshua. I'm here with Eric Hansen, and this has been Late Night Fight. Thank you, and good night.